In our news bulletin for this evening, the Premier departs for a series of bilateral discussions where he will meet with leaders of France, India and China. The Secretariat of the Pacific Community conducts a scoping exercise in Niue for the Youth at Work program. Pacific climate warriors take their message to the fossil fuel industry in a flotilla in Australia to raise awareness of the effects of climate change on the Pacific. It's a busy week for secondary school students sitting the National Certificate of Educational Achievement exams. Niue is trying to assert itself within the region and strengthen relations with development partners as Premier Tokitalangi heads off for a series of meetings where he will have bilateral discussions with leaders from France, India and China. Premier Talangi says that the meetings will be to discuss regional issues and bilateral issues to draw attention to the Pacific at the present moment, what assistance is required from development partners and how we can help them. We spoke to him before he departed the island on Tuesday about his expectations and what will be discussed.
Basically, to look at bilaterals and also to look at climate change, what it's going to affect and how it's going to affect our fisheries, what they're doing at the present moment to help us protect and help us manage the illegal fishing that occurs, not just from some companies in their own countries, but also people outside from their own countries that we need to do. So we've got to, if we're going to manage our resources well, then we've got to provide better surveillance and better strict rules to ensure that in fact these people don't come and flog our fish. So those are the sort of issues we would like to discuss with them.
Premier Talangi will also use this opportunity to remind Chinese counterparts about assistance towards infrastructure developments on the island.
We'd still like to talk to the Chinese, for example, about roading. We're still, and the airport developments and so on, the hotel. That's the thing. I understand that there we'll also be discussing some of the issues with respect to getting heavy plant equipment from China and so on. So there are a number of issues that we will talk to them as well as the Indian Prime Minister. We've never actually had any relations with France, so it'll be a good opportunity for me to ask him, why aren't you interested in Niue other than the French territories, and get a response and see where we take it from there. The COP meeting is going to be in France next year, and I don't see any point it doesn't start attending. I'll probably say that to him because nothing appears to have changed and so on. My meeting with Minister Macaulay and so on will be to discuss and congratulate him on his victory in the United Nations. He was instrumental in things, but also to talk to him about long-term ambitions we have as a government. I think we're going to need about $100 to $150 million over the next 10 years if we are going to properly invest in this place and make sure that we can build a strong, sustainable economy. I'd like to talk to him about that. New Zealand doesn't have to necessarily fund all of it, and this is part of the reasons why we're looking at other partners at the present moment to try to help us achieve those particular targets that we're setting ourselves for this government.
Premier Tokitalangi will be away for just over 2 weeks in meetings in New Caledonia, Fiji, Korea and New Zealand. Niue is part of a scoping exercise being carried out for the Youth at Work program of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community that was designed to tackle the growing challenges of youth unemployment. The program began in the Solomon Islands that has proven successful, and there is also an interest to work in other countries. Youth at Work advocates for youth livelihoods, working towards creating solid entrepreneurship programs and employment opportunities.
And it's a pretty simple concept, basically trying to put the kids into internships in fields where they have some interest, either in the private sector or in the public sector, and also then mentoring them throughout the program, giving them a lot of training, really teaching them on CV writing, applications, finding opportunities, giving kids all the resources they need and a lot of tender loving care for about 6 months, and then helping them to enter into the workforce. We're really excited because about 40% of the kids that go through our program have found permanent jobs or have started their own businesses, so we think we've got a winning combination.
Admittedly, different cultural and economic contexts apply to different countries, and as such the scoping exercise is to identify what Niue youth needs are in terms of employment opportunities. A number of meetings were held with various stakeholders in the community this week to gauge what the level of interest is and what issues are prominent in Niue's context to see whether youth at work will be implemented in Niue.
I think if the government decides to go down this path and SPC becomes an implementer for youth at work here, the good thing about SPC is that we know our members really well. We've been around for 67 years. We've got, I think, 5 or 6 Niueans that are working with us at SPC, including our Director General, Dr. Colin Tukuitonga. So I think knowing the cultural context here and knowing your unique issues with helping youth to have a pathway here to stay, helping youth to fit into what really makes them happy and where they can use their talents and their skills, it's kind of a reverse from Melanesia, big, huge populations, but it's a very unique context that still needs as much attention and as much tender, loving care as Youth at Work puts into any of the countries we work in. So I think we'd really welcome the challenge of being able to help Niue with all the different pathways that are available through government programs, through private sector programs, and just find a way for each and every Niuean kid to feel that they have a role to play in the future of their country. We really would like to make the Pacific a place where youth are the leaders of the future who are well prepared and well equipped.
Sustainability is often an issue with projects, but Mia says that is something that they are aware of and have factored into the success of the program.
We're very conscious of the fact that many projects just start and then fall over when the funding's gone. So the way that we've been able to do that is using our development partners to give us a kickstart and, trying to work with the donors who really want to see economic activity, because this is a lot about empowering youth to become vital parts of the economy and grow the economy. And then now what we've done, for example, in the Solomon Islands is that the Ministry of Education has now decided to fund us under their TVET budget because they just didn't have the capacity to be able to spend their TVET money. Things were kind of, a bit all over the place. They've got so many obligations in a Ministry of Education for curriculum and tertiary, and they thought, wow, this program's been going for 2.5 years. They've got a track record. They've got some evidence base. So let's see if we can just put some of our government budget towards a best buy, the best bang for your buck. So perhaps we could help Niue after a couple of years to be able to see if this is something they would like to build into their budget, so we could look at this going on forever and ever under one ministry or another, sharing, of course, in a partnership with the private sector. So we're really encouraged that we'll be able to continue this work in Kiribati, in Samoa. We're already working in Vanuatu. We're just about to go to PNG, and we've started a program in New Caledonia. I just would really like to thank the people of Niue and all of the stakeholders for such incredible hospitality. You have a beautiful island and beautiful people, and SBC is very proud to be here to help out.
The scoping mission was based on a request from the Niue government, and the project would require the support of government and the community as a whole. 30 young people from 12 islands in the Pacific gathered in Australia in October to highlight climate change as a regional issue and stand up for the Pacific region at the forefront of the effects of climate change. The campaign was spearheaded by 350 Pacific, and Daphne Pihinga and Rex Rico Milikitama were the 2 successful youth applicants from Niue that were part of the movement, who travelled to Australia on behalf of 350 Niue. For the past year, 350 Pacific Climate Warriors have held a series of campaigns throughout the 350 networks within countries in the Pacific using the slogan, "We are not drowning, we are fighting," as well as working on the construction of traditional canoes that would be used in the flotilla on the 17th of October. 350 climate change advocates from American Samoa, Federated States of Micronesia, Fiji, Kiribati, Nauru, Niue, Marshall Islands, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tokelau, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu joined forces in a 1-week training and preparation camp before heading into the flotilla challenge. 5 traditional canoes from the islands of Vanuatu, Tokelau, Fiji, Tonga, and Solomon Islands were taken especially for the flotilla, and a few supporters on kayaks as well, with the support of the Newcastle community. The support was overwhelming, with hundreds of people turning up on the beach to see them off and even joining in some of the speaking events and sit-ins at selected areas. Australia was selected as the location for the Day of Action because it is the second largest coal exporter in the world, with plans to expand. The challenge was focused on appealing to the fossil fuel industry to minimize extraction of coal through peaceful protest as a Pacific region. According to 350 Niue climate warrior Rex Rico Milikitama, the experience was life-changing and that they were proud to represent Niue, even though there were only two of them. But with the help of family and the 350 warriors, their voice was heard. He said that we have to protect Niue and the islands of the Pacific from climate change for future generations. Both young climate change warriors are preparing to share that message with their peers and the community, with presentations to raise awareness regarding the importance of youth involvement in finding climate solutions. It's a big week for secondary school students sitting National Certificate of Educational Achievement exams. Since its introduction in 2002, the NCEA qualification system has progressively improved through a number of initiatives. Niue High School has 59 students enrolled for NCEA this year, and of these, a total of 41 students are sitting external exams. NCEA exam schedules started on Sunday the 9th of November at Niue High School with the Level 1 Science, Level 3 Horticulture and Level 2 and 3 Geography exams. It can either be a time of stress or smiles for students to attain the necessary credits. The physical education room at Niue High School has been set up for exams throughout the day from 9 up until 5 in the afternoon, and people are asked to be mindful to minimize noise around that area to allow students to concentrate on their exams. For Niue High School, the final exam will be Level 1 Social Studies on Wednesday the 26th of November. All the best to students sitting their exams. And that is our news bulletin for this evening and for this week. We do hope you can join us again for our next news bulletin next week. Have a great weekend.